Hello, my name is Coral Eskindone, and I wanted to do a video regarding Ava Bickford or Bradeen. I don't know which surname she is currently going under. But her Ava is a 12-year-old girl in Maine, and her mother, Emily, is, to my understanding, has been several years at Calvary Chapel. And that does play a pertinent aspect that my husband actually brought up today that I would want to talk about. But for those of you who don't know or haven't heard of this story, Ava's father, Michael Bradeen, they all live in Maine, to my understanding. He has shown himself to be a very, unfortunately, this is what he's putting out here, but he seems to me a very controlling person. And in my book, this is only my opinion, but this story caught my attention because it is almost identical to what I went through at almost the exact same age. And it's very interesting to me, spiritually, emotionally, whatever, that when you are going through a growth spurt of like 12, 13, and you're coming into your own, you're coming into young adulthood, that certain people, and sometimes that can include a parent or parents, unfortunately, in some cases, but a force and effort is gone into trying to stop this child from growing spiritually, emotionally, physically, psychologically, and all the ways that you can think of. Because her father, Ava has been raised for several years in the church. It just so happens to be a Calvary Chapel denomination. However, she came to her father, as is right. She came to him. This is my understanding from what information I've gathered. Says, "Oh, Dad, I'd love to be baptized." He goes into full-out mode to prevent her from being baptized. He took this to the courts. So, Michael Bradeen, you did this. This was your choice. You took this to the courts. You didn't handle this in family. You went to the courts. You have summoned up, if you will, a expert in sociology. I'm not going to say so-called expert because that's been put out there. She may very well be an expert in sociology. I give her that. But knowing from what I've read that this child, that this minor, that this young lady is may very well be subject or to anxiety, that alerts me. That concerns me as an American citizen, as a Christian, as a woman, that this young lady is being sent into an isolation via the court. So I appeal. I may not appeal legalistic, with legislation, but I am saying to the court, please, my story is almost exactly identical to Ava's. My father, who just so happened to be, now he's not medically diagnosed, but it took me, goodness, like 30 years to realize, even though I realized something was wrong with my father early on in life, we didn't have the term, narcissist or malignant narcissist. Now, I'm not saying that Michael Bradeen is. I haven't met the guy. I haven't seen him in any of the footage, anything that's been put out there, but just from what's been presented, that he took this to the courts, that he's taking this, well, the mother appealed to the Supreme Court, I think, and Liberty Counsel, but this has been taken to courts. You have such a overextension, a very keen focus on control that is unhealthy, in my opinion. Okay, that is my opinion. But this control issue, this is a control issue. I'm not saying that religion has nothing to do with it and is completely divorced, but I want the court, I beg you, if you are in the main court system, please, I am begging you, consider that this young lady could be very well sent into self-harm. She could be sent into doing something worse, especially with the anxiety. From what I understand, they've been trying, the father and his expert in sociology, if he is a narcissist, now I say if, like I said, I haven't met the guy, don't know if he fits the bill, but if he seems to have a little bit of a control issue, just like my dad did. Excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. But if he fits that bill, or that profiling, if you will, Ava is going to have to be very, very strong, and I pray for her. And Emily is going to have to be strong too. This, like I said, it's not divorced from religion, but it is more so about control from his mindset, if that is what he is falling under. So please, if you are in the court system, please, for the love of all that's good, look at this more in depth. My question, and I want to get into some of, because I watched the 1 second. If you could pull up the Google Doc.
Yes.
Yeah. I had some thoughts that I wanted to share after having listened to, as far as I know, the full Maine Supreme Court appeal process, what Ms. King or Mrs. King got up to say, and what Liberty Counsel came up to say. So I had some points on there that I wanted to bring up. Thank you, sweetie. And before I get into that, though, I will say that Michael Bradeen, I stand by my statement that you, pertaining to the issue of you placing the sole responsibility upon Emily, the mother, to prove that Christianity is somehow beneficial to Ava or anybody for that matter. You are I'm sorry to say this, I don't like insulting people. That is lazy. You are presenting yourself as a lazy father. If you want to be the head of the household, then you need to, and you should, take the responsibility with that power. You want the power, you need the responsibility as well. So if you want to prove you seem very interested in proving your own point. Like, oh, Christianity bad. You know, just Michael Bradeen's stamp of bad on there. Okay. All right. We hear ya. Okay, now as a wise father, if you want your child, Ava, to grow up into a well-rounded and thinking adult, because your concern presented is that Christian life is psychologically harmful, well then walk with her, walk yourself through these studies. Don't just place that on the mom. Don't just place that on the mom. You do your own research in things that you may not be interested in, but that may be true, whether you want them to be or not. Meaning, Christianity could have some health benefits. You go search that. You go search that. And you lead by example, because you may not like what you find, but you may well find out some new things that you didn't know before. And if you want Ava to be a thinking individual and a well-rounded individual, you lead by example and you say, hey, this is how we debate. Like, this is how we may not agree You may not have the same stance. You may, not just you, Michael, but Ava or whoever. If you don't have the same stance, at least you know what the other person or what the other opposition view is. I have had to do this throughout my life, and I honestly love the challenge. I don't make myself an expert in all areas of life. You can only, you have to find specialities. But I have had wonderful conversations with complete pagans. People who profess to be pagans, people who profess to be atheists. They have a respect for me. They've had a respect for me in the conversations that they've had with me at art fairs, on the bus to and from school. They know that I listen. You are not presenting yourself, unfortunately, as somebody who is interested in listening to the opposite side, but rather of proving your own point. So, without further ado, there are thinking Christians out there at different levels of capacity. But I wanted to talk through a few points here. I'm going to do a second video just so that it doesn't cut off time. Okay.